Hi, this is Richard Patrick from Filter, and you're listening to Collision with Cat. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am really good. I'm excited for this new record, and I love Australia, and I'm so glad there's so much press. I'm really excited that there's so much press I get to do for it. So
Awesome.
Hopefully that's a good indicator, and I can come down there and play a nice concert tour out there.
Well, we certainly hope you do. I'm not sure if you remember when you were here for Soundwave in Melbourne. I actually stole 5 minutes of your time at Soundwave for an interview.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, no problem. How are you?
I'm good. So, yeah, we've already met, and it's nice to finally get to do a proper interview with you.
Yeah, that's great.
And I hope you get down here this year or early next year for this album.
Yeah, Soundwave is kind of like a little teaser, kind of like, hey, this is 30 minutes of our stuff. And unfortunately, our show got totally screwed up because it was the first show and we didn't have our gear set right, And so I really want to come back and play it properly. And, the only way we can do that is to get as much interest behind the band as possible. So, thanks for doing this interview.
Oh, I was very excited to do it, don't worry. The album Crazy Eyes, though, it's coming out in Australia on April 8th.
Comes out April 8th, and we are doing a big, long tour across the U.S., and we're going to Europe. And it's a very cool record. I really loved it. There's no take a pictures on this record.
No.
And I love Take a Picture. I love Surprise. I love It's My Time. But this record's a little bit more reflective of just kind of the hysteria, the craziness of the world we live in.
I love this album. And, of course, the singles you've released so far have been amazing, but I had a chance to listen to the album last night, and track 6, Welcome to the Suck, is absolutely amazing.
Thank you. I sang that in like one take, and I wrote the lyrics really quickly. And the song was, I had an acoustic guitar, and I just kind of played these 2 chords, and then all we did was just put a ton of like brass and, distorted brass sounds and crazy, it's almost like it's a movie trailer or something. It's just this big, huge, dark song. Real joy to make that. I loved it. It's fun singing that high, too. It's pretty heavy.
Right. I was going to say, actually, I saw on Instagram that you actually do work on movie scores, and this song did sound like a movie score to me.
Yeah. Well, cinema's always been extremely close to my heart. My brother's an actor. My father would take us to 2 or 3 movies a week, and he would, as soon as I was old enough, he would take me to just as many he could handle. And even up until his death back in December of 14, he was seeing 2 or 3 movies a week.
Right.
He loved movies, and so cinema has been just huge in my life. And you're from Cleveland, and you're hanging out with some friends, and the band makes it, and then you go off and you work in the band, and there's always been this incredible attraction to sound, and not necessarily like movie score, but like just sound, and pulses. That's the beauty of scoring, is that you're making the sound of when someone's thinking, and what's going on in their head and what their thoughts sound like, and it's another character. As soon as the music enters, it's like it helps to accentuate the vision of what the movie is trying to be, or what the what it's hopefully there for. But apparently some people don't really think it's that cool. And, sometimes they're just like, oh, it's music that no one listens to and stuff. And I'm just like, wow, how could you say that? I hear, even a movie like The Revenant, it's literally like one note from a banjo, and they just pluck one string and put it through this massive reverb, and you hear this it's incredibly simple, and that to me is it speaks volumes on how important it is. And so I just think it's fascinating. And when I did my first take with my guitar to picture, You know, it was a big moment for me, and I remember breathing really heavily, like, wow, I'm really fucking doing it. You know, it was really cool. I loved it.
Awesome.
And I want to continue to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I was noticing, like, this album, you know, like your last album, there are so many different sort of songs on there individually. You know, they're not the same song, but the way that you weave them together, and this album is so much more intricate, and there's so many more, like, influences in this album. How hard is it to actually put that all together in a cohesive sound on an album?
Well, my philosophy when it comes to making a record is, you know, we make albums. You know, I always envision people, you know, when I buy a CD or when I listen to a record, I don't just buy a single. You know, I buy the whole thing because, you know, even like on this record, Take Me to Heaven, yeah, sure, it's kind of their choice to get on the radio. But to me, Mother E is the jam. You know, that's the song that, like, you know, says so much more about what the record is. And so, you know, I always hope that, like, when I buy a record that there's so many more songs. But in sequencing a record, I always sequence it with this in mind. Think of it like the party. Think of it like the night out where, you know, you get the phone call, hey, let's go to the bar, let's go hang out. And, you know, you get ready and you're fucking pumped. And, you know, you're fucking driving there, and it's like you're playing super loud music, and then you get to the party, and you rock out with your friends, and you're having a great time. And then, like, you know, it's like 11, and now you're like, you know, you're getting a little bit more introspective, and you're talking, and the music gets pulled down a little bit, and you're having this, you know, serious conversation. And then by, like, the end of the night, it's like, you know, someone's lit up a joint, and you're kind of stoned, and you're a little drunk, and, you know, you're sitting there, and you're listening to, like, you know, ambient music and stuff. And that's what I think records should sound like. I think they should sound like a fucking night out where you're, you know, like, it's like title of record, it's like fucking welcome to the fold. And then, you know, and then all of a sudden you get happy and euphoric with, like, take a picture. And then, like, then you get a little sad because you're talking to your ex-girlfriend, and, you know, then you got I'm Not the Only One. And then by the end of it, you're just like in a dream state where you're listening to stuff that's ambient. And so that's what all the Filter records, that's what I tried to do. I didn't get to do it on Anthems, and I'm forever pissed off at that record because my proper sequence would have been completely different. But, you know, I listened to the producer on that one, and that's why I ended up, you know, producing this record, because I feel like, let me fucking do it, because I got to be able to maintain the originality in the whole thing.
Right. So this is the first album you've actually entirely produced yourself?
I co-produced it with Umi Capello. By the way, he's from Perth.
Right.
And I co-produced it with Danny Lohner and with a little bit of Ben Gross. But, you know, the thing is I wanted to have final say. So I listen and I collaborate with my, you know, Umi wrote a lot of the songs with me. You know, we would sit there with a guitar and just hand it back and forth to each other until we had a song. But the reality is you have to have someone to finally go, like, hey, listen, if there's a tie, if we're arguing over something, and I feel strongly about it, it's just that's the way it's going to be. And primarily it's my name on the record contract, and it's my responsibility. And I don't want to feel like, I wish I would have done something different, because I've got a few regrets like that. So it's really important for me that I produce the record.
Yeah. Can I ask, actually, speaking about heavier, because your music has gotten heavier as you've gone along, I think, and you did, of course, have Take a Picture and commercial success at one stage. Like, there was never anything in you that said, I want to keep this commercial success going. You have to make the music that you want to make, or?
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, I infuriate record companies because I'm so... One record company president called me, like, he said, your music's a little schizophrenic. And I'm like, and that's wrong because why? And he's like, well, you know, he's like, I got this band Disturbed, and, you know, they write fucking heavy metal, and that's what they do. And they stick to their genre, and heavy metal is a very, you know, they're lucrative business, and, you know, as long as you do that, I'm like, well, dude, we were never heavy metal. Like, you know, and I come from the alternative world. You know, alternative was the underground. That's why they called it alternative. And all the bands, you know, whether it was Nine Inch Nails or U2 or, you know, all those bands were emotionally vulnerable, you know, and, you know, what, you know, Billy Corgan said, hey man, it's great to be heavy, but it's also really great to be a little vulnerable and a little bit more tender. And he's like, you know, you have a great voice. And then I wrote Take a Picture, and I saw him years later, and he was like, that is a fucking beautiful song. He's like, and it's wild that the same guy who sang Hey Man, Nice Shot is singing Take a Picture. It's just wild that one person can be that diverse. And you would think that in this world of disposable bands, in a world where it's MP3 singles, that you would think that the audience would be as accepting of that as, because you know, my records sound like an iPod on shuffle. Like, it just sounds like, oh shit, now you're going to be acoustic? You know, now you're going to be dreamy and sweet, you know? And that's the thing. I think it's important to show all of the vulnerabilities and the angers and everything. I don't want to be a genre. Filter has always been, we've always bent the genre. We've always, like, am I industrial? I don't know. I like guitar. I was in Nine Inch Nails, but I love guitar. Am I heavy metal? No. Am I grunge? Not really, because we don't have a drummer.
Right.
You know, it was, you know, Short Bus was all drum machines. So really, it's just about being yourself. It's about being Filter. And what is Filter? Filter is my brain. That's what the name comes from. I see the world from a very different perspective, and I just feel like I got to talk about it. If you hold a press conference and you blow your head off, there's a good chance I might write a song about you. You know what I mean? Like, who does that? You know? Who is a mass shooter? What do you think Mother E's about? Mother E is a young man trying to convince himself to go commit a heinous crime, and he kills everybody. And while he's reloading, he hears these people crying and whimpering for their lives, and then he starts killing again. And what does it sound like? Well, I think that's what it sounds like. And the reason why I have to do that is because Bieber is doing fucking Sugary Sweet, you know, and Adele, they're doing sugary sweet pop songs. Someone's got to talk about this insanity with this mass shooting fucking stuff that's going on. No one's talking about it. You know, art has to reflect all of what is in the world. Art has to reflect. It has statement sometimes. John Lennon's gone. You know, he was gunned down, for crying out loud. And, like, who's talking about that? You know, he was all about give peace a chance and trying to make things better. And, like, you know, he was gunned down. You know, so someone has to talk about it. Bieber's not going to talk about it. Swift's not going to talk about it. I got to talk about it, you know? And not just, like, and lump myself in with heavy metal. It has to be heavy, really. Like, what's really heavy? Is it fucking long hair and fucking the you know, a ghoul or a monster on your record cover? It's not a fucking comic book. I'm not Rob Zombie. I love Rob Zombie. He's a friend of mine, but I'm not a comic book. You know, I'm fucking really trying to say something about reality and the eccentricities within reality. The fact that we are so primitive still, you know, and ruthless and crazy and greedy. You know, Trump is fucking going to be the Republican nominee, for Christ's sake. How the fuck did that happen?
I don't know.
You know, he's a fucking lunatic. He knows nothing about history. He knows nothing about, you know, government. But for some reason, because he's a loudmouth asshole and he hates immigrants, why does he hate immigrants? All the people that work in his hotels are immigrants. Yeah. You know, they keep his price down. So he's fucking crazy, man. He's a lunatic. And, like, you know, someone's got to fucking say it. It's like Joe Strummer, you know? People thought he took his music too seriously. I disagree.
Yeah. Well, the album is, like, I guess if you had to describe it, it's heavy emotion because there's not one song on it that you don't feel what you're trying to get across. I did notice a Nine Inch Nails influence in some of the tracks, and then I did the research and discovered that you were in Nine Inch Nails before Filter, so I guess you've always had that slight influence there.
Well, you got to remember, when I met Trent Reznor, he was in a band called the Exotic Birds.
Right.
And I was in a band called The Act. And we sucked. You know, our bands were sucky. And at some point, we hung out for a couple of times and we were hanging out. And then all of a sudden, like, I had heard he got a record contract and I bumped into him at Pie Keyboards and Audio. And he said, "Hey, Rich, I heard you broke your band up and, like, you know, you're way more into industrial." I go, "Dude, I've been listening to Skinny Puppy and Ministry like nonstop for like 2 years, and I just want to do something with industrial." And he goes, "Well, I'm kind of doing some stuff like that right now." And so we got together, and he played me Pretty Hate Machine, and he said, "Here you go." And I said, "Oh, wow, that's cool." And then he goes, "Oh, and we recorded this one song. It's called Head Like a Hole. We just added it." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And so I listened to Head Like a Hole, and I was like, "That's the fucking shit right there. That's the shit." And, you know, I played a little drone on the record on Pretty Hate Machine, but I sat there and we had to tour for years. We toured for like 3 or 4 years. And I remember saying to Trent, like, "Dude, we gotta fucking make the next record heavy." Like, I was that constant voice in his head saying, so he did the Broken EP. And when he did the Broken EP, he listed me as an influence. Like, you know, that's about as much as I got, you know, credit-wise. He said, "I'd like to thank my live band for being an influence on me." So there's this massive structural difference between Pretty Hate Machine and Broken. And he was responsible for all the music. He did all the work. He is truly a genius, and I love him for it. But I was like this one little voice back there going, heavy, mean, anger. So, you know, give me credit where credit's due. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I sculpted his music for him or did anything, but I was definitely constantly back there saying over and over, "Dude, keep it heavy." And, you know, he acknowledged that, and he said I was an influence. Yeah. Having said that, you know, we were listening to Skinny Puppy and Ministry. That's what we were listening to. Mm-hmm. And those are the influences that you're hearing in 9 Inch Nails and this new Filter record. It's not necessarily what Trent was doing. It was mainly what I was hearing from Vancouver and Chicago and Germany.
Right.
That was the stuff, and you can hear it. It's definitely, there's a Front 242 vibe. You know, it's not like I consciously said, "Okay, we're gonna do something like Front 242," but you can tell that I came from that era and that I still love that era. You know, there was a lot of bands that were doing great things, and I think that you should always remember everything.
Yeah. The album Crazy Eyes is out on April the 8th, and it's really, from what I'm hearing, this is an album that you are really happy with, and it comes across in the album.
It's a celebration of all the stuff I've, you know, missed in my own music. You know, it's a celebration of, like, strange arrangements. You know, Mother E, I'm singing one lyric for the most part. You know, I love it. It's avant-garde, and I'm breaking rules, and I don't give a shit, and I don't really care if I get on the radio. You know, Take Me to Heaven is kind of like the one song where it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of commercial, but that was never the goal. It was written, you know, about my father. You know, I'm way more about the rest of the record as well, you know, and I listened to the record. You know, it's the first Filter record that I've actually just been listening in my car. You know, someone asked me to name me 5 records you're listening to right now, and I'm like, I don't want to sound self-absorbed, but I'm very grateful that I'm actually listening to Crazy Eyes in my car.
That's wonderful, because I think if you're making the music then and you want other people to listen, it's awesome to know that it's a record that you listen to.
Yeah. You know, someone once said, and his name rhymes with Shmano, but, you know, Bono is right. You have to blow your own minds. If you're not blowing your own minds, then you're not doing it right. And that's the thing, you know?
Yeah.
I've listened to some records recently, and I kind of wince. I cringe a little bit when I hear it. And, you know, this isn't like that. This is like, fuck yeah, what's next? Oh, I love that song. You know what I mean? And I don't want to sound self-absorbed again or narcissistic or anything, but, yeah, it's kind of nice to be into something that you've been doing. And, you know, and the other thing about this record is I was really into the heavy stuff my whole life, and I hated, you know, reading that people were like, you know, was saying ageist comments like, you know, oh, I know they all get mellow and they all get like, it's just like, I hate that. You get a little older and you mellow. Who the fuck says that? Yeah, you know, I was glad that like I could make the heavy record that I wanted to make finally, and not have to be like Mr. Get on the Radio guy, you know, because I'm not mellow. I'm not a mellow person, you know. The other thing is I have a really great sense of humor, you know, and one of my songs is called Kid Blue, and it's me going off. I have this one friend that is constantly drunk texting me and telling me how much I suck or whatever, or how great, you know, we used to be with him. And I'm like, fuck you, drunken texter, fuck off, you know. And I love that, you know. So there's that song, which is a lot of fun.
I was going to say that was another one that stood out when I listened through the album, actually. That is a really good song.
I love the end.
Right.
I love the end of that song, the whole fucking, you know, bow, you know, that big, huge bombast.
Yeah, and you've got a song on there about the acceptance of gay marriage, and that even though it's accepted, it's not necessarily accepted.
Yeah. Well, I hate religion.
Right.
And I hate the conservative right in America.
Yep.
And I think religion, the Bronze Age, was a very interesting, dangerous, creepy time in human history. And, you know, to have these guys talking about, I think that marriage should be between a man and a woman. You know, who the fuck are you? Gay people are gay, and they want to do gay shit. And nothing says gay like a wedding. Like, weddings are the gayest shit I've ever seen in my life. Enjoy fucking being gay and get married. Who gives a shit? Who cares?
Yeah.
You know, you've got these Republicans out there just talking about all this shit. It's just like you just want to bash them in the fucking head. You know, and they've been wrong on every single fucking main issue in the last 30 or 40 years. From Richard Nixon to Ronald Reagan to George Bush and to George Bush Jr. They've been wrong on everything. And war, they've started more wars, they've done more fucked up, disgraceful shit, you know, and they pick on, you know, Bill Clinton, who was actually a fantastic president, but like a lot of men, can't fucking resist when a young woman wants to get a little sexy. You know, and it's hard to resist that shit. And I don't blame. It's hard. And you know, he's a man. He's not the Lord. You know, he's a fallible man with, you know, the mistakes of being a man. And you know, it's like they come down on him for that. They spent $300 million trying to find anything on him, investigating the fucking president. Finally, Ken Starr found something, and it's like that's all they do. They start shit and they look at what they did to President Obama. You know, they don't even call him the president. They call him this president, which is like those people, which is a racist. That's code for racism. You know, so I just fucking hate so much of the world, and I love screaming about it on records.
Oh, I love this album. It is an experience, and it is, like you said, there's so many different, you know, moods and emotions and just things to go through, and it is amazing. And like, I agree, my music taste gets heavier as I get older. I actually did not like heavy music when I was young at all, and now I love it.
Well, yeah, it's because the problem with America and the music scene in America is you've had 10 fucking years of people taking a group of desperate singers, putting them on a game show, and carving out every single fucking flaw or eccentricity or anything that makes them different or unique, and they tear them down, and boom, you got another American Idol. You know, and just another soulful singer that is not pitchy and is perfect. And that's the problem. And now you got all this shit, this sugary sweet pop bullshit, whether it's Maroon 5 or it's just so goddamn heavily pop influenced. Just makes you want to vomit. You know, when I wrote Take a Picture, that shit was fucking punk to the shit that was out. You know, the stuff that was out that was really big was Korn and, you know, Limp Bizkit, and it was this like, you know, goofy rap rock shit. And like Take a Picture was like a breath of fresh air. That's why the song was so huge.
Right. Yep.
And like, I kind of wrote it as a fuck you to like all the rap rock. You know what I mean? Like, And now it's like everything is so sugary sweet. I'm just like, right, I just want to do the exact opposite of what everyone's doing. Because they suck. It sucks. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much chocolate cake.
I love the way you
Believe me,
think.
Katy Perry, fireworks. I love singing fireworks with my kid.
Yeah.
I love singing fireworks with my kids with Katy Perry. I sing that shit. My kids sing Let It Go from the Frozen soundtrack. I love it. It's well-written stuff. It's just too much of one thing.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And it's good to, like, that's one of the things that I love so much about Filter is that you can tell with everything you release that this is what you want to sing about. This is what you don't care if anyone else likes it or not. You're doing what you want to do.
Actually, the funny thing is I actually do. I hunt down, like when people troll on fucking Facebook, I fucking smack them. I go to their profile and I find out something about them that I could criticize and I pick on them. Like, I don't even fucking, it's like I do care what people say. You know, it's like I do. Like, it pisses me off when they fucking, like, diss Filter. I can't take it.
Right.
I'm like, I'm reduced to, like an 8th grade kid going, like, fuck you! You know what I mean? Like, you know, some bald guy will get on and, like, pick on me for not, you know, having, you know, doing this or something, and I'll go, well, at least I'm not bald. You know what I mean? Like, I drop it down to that level, and it's partly, that's kind of like, it's stupid, and I know I'm being stupid, but I'm like, well, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, don't piss me off. You have no right to come onto my Facebook page where all us fans are hanging out and being nice to each other, and here you are fucking showing up saying fucking the new record blows. Fuck you. You know what blows? That fucking haircut. And why don't you get some fucking braces? You know, I don't know what I'm fucking, you know.
Well, it's personal.
Like I don't suffer trolls.
No, and Filter is, like you said, it's you, so it is very personal to you when people say bad stuff.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because everyone's like, my publicists at the record company are like, hey, you know, you're starting fights with people. I'm like, are you kidding? Did you read what he said? They're like, yeah, but no one responds. I'm like, not this motherfucker. I'm gonna respond. I'm gonna fucking put it right back in your face.
Yeah.
You know, like, what's the point of the internet? You know, you want to be in touch with the fans? You know, you come to diss me, you disrespect my band, I'm gonna fucking hit you back.
Yeah.
You know?
And if people want to watch...
That's how I was raised. If a bully comes up, it's like that little kid, that famous Australian kid, that big kid that was getting picked on by that little skinny kid.
Uh-huh.
And he finally had enough, and he picked the little guy up and threw him on the ground, and, like, remember that?
Yep, I do.
It's kind of like that. It's like, hey, dude, I'm not going to take shit. You know, at some point, you know, someone's going to have to fucking fire back on Donald Trump. And I love, like, he picked on Hillary Clinton for something, and then she fired right back with, like, you know, some of the stupid shit he says. And it's nice. It's like, yeah, fucking hit him back.
Yeah.
You know?
Awesome. I think people should, like, I'm probably going to go and have a look through some of the posts to the page and stuff like that. If people want to keep an eye on Filter and say nice things.
The reality is when if you can say whatever you want, just don't think you can say it without impunity. You can't say it with impunity. You're going to get hit back if you say something shitty to me.
Well, I think
that's just the way I am. That's the redneck in me.
That's awesome. But I think people on Facebook value their own opinions too much sometimes.
Are you kidding? If someone said that to me in public, I would fucking flatten them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd fucking break a beer bottle over their head. Some of these people said shit to me like that in front of me.
Yeah. They're very brave behind a computer.
My wife says I sound like Donald Trump.
Oh.
You know what, honey? I'm not running for president. You know what I'm saying? I'm not running for president, honey. I'm like the left Donald Trump, except I'm the lead singer in a rock band.
Yeah.
And you know what? I want people to be treated with respect and dignity.
I think the world...
I would talk back. She's like, you wouldn't hurt anybody. I'm like, I don't know. I'd probably punch him in the dick. Sorry. She's literally telling me how to, like, my wife is teaching me how to live,
That's good.
I've got a checkered past. I've been arrested a few times, I get it.
All right. Well, you've had a full life. Lots of adventure.
A full life and a good wife.
Yeah, and you're writing some amazing music at the moment, and I really hope you get it to Australia very soon. You are facebook.com/filter? Sorry.
Absolutely. Lots of filters. Like, we're all over the webs, the interwebs.
Yep. It has, I will tell people too, actually, your official filter.com is your website, and the album Crazy Eyes is out on the 8th of April, and it is an amazing album. And I think, there's something on there for everyone to listen to.
That's right.
Yeah. There's got to be a song on there that everyone would love. There has to be. I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Filter writes albums. We don't write singles.
No. Awesome. Thank you so much. Meeting you at Soundwave was awesome because you're such a wonderful person, and getting to talk to you finally to have a proper interview is amazing, but I still feel like I need an hour and a half to actually get to everything that I wanted to talk to you about. So when you're coming for a tour, we have to talk again.
If you get me on the other side of a Coca-Cola or a coffee, I'll talk for hours and hours and hours. I talk too much, to be honest with you. I'm a little crazy when it comes to that. But thank you so much for having me on Collision.
Thank you so much for giving me your time, and you talk about fascinating stuff, so it's all right that you talk too much.
I appreciate it. And you totally got me, like, no pun intended, but unfiltered, because I had no idea I was actually being recorded for the radio. I just didn't look at they send me an email and you lose track, and you're like, whatever, that's good. Say crazy shit.
No, it's like, I'm really good at editing, don't worry.
Oh, no, I don't care if I sound like a dangling. At least I'm truthful.
You've sounded wonderful. You've got such an interesting outlook on the world. It's amazing, and it's great to know what's going into your music, and I do thank you very much for being so open with me.
You got it. Well, I can't wait to see you again, and when we come back, we'll hang out even more. I'll come to the studio and we'll hang out.
Awesome. Definitely. Thank you very much. Have a great day or evening, whatever it is over there.
It's daytime.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. We'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.